This is a video user guide for Impro's Primo family of access control readers. Here you can learn all there is to know about the selection, programming and installation of these readers. Here are the timestamps for the chapters in this video. You can pause here and scrub the progress bar to the time you are after. You can also find hyperlinked timestamps in the YouTube description below this video. There are a few things to bear in mind when choosing a Primo reader. The first would be the form factor that fits the site needs. Primo readers come in 5 different form factors. The mullion, or mullion with a keypad, as the name suggests, the slender reader allows for narrow mounting locations. The junction box, or junction box with a keypad, this reader is sized for the standard 120 by 80 mm junction box, standardizing the installation methodology. The harsh environment. This is a robust bell-shaped housing that has a higher IP rating, and it'll fit over a standard round 80 mm junction box. All these readers can also be mounted directly to drywall or masonry surfaces. The license options you choose when purchasing the reader will determine the encryption key and the reading technology that the reader will use. You could opt for mobile capable with the Impro key or mobile capable with a custom key. These two will give you the option of later having the mobile capability enabled, so that if in the future the site would like to adopt the use of smartphone access, this can be done by purchasing the mobile license. You could opt for a Bluetooth only option that does not respond to RFID tags. The last 3 options are fully mobile enabled and use Impro key and Impro credentials. You can choose that the reader is enabled for STID, HID, or for both. In the case of the harsh environment reader, only the last 2 options, E and F, are available. Primo readers are available in a range of colors to cater for discerning decor requirements. All form factors are available in Nero, that's black, or Bianco, which is white. Form factors without keypads are available in 5 additional colors. The Exclusivo range brings some tasteful sophistication with its graphite and beige options. The Artistico range offers 3 bespoke colors: khaki emerald, gunmetal blue, and burnt orange. In the box is a pictorial quick start guide that is tailored for your model. This includes all you need to know to wire, program, and mount the reader. Under the quick start guide is the reader, secured to its mounting plate by a screw at the bottom of the reader. Other items included in the box are a rubber switch cover. Don't lose this, it's needed for the operation of the tamper switch and to achieve the housing's specified IP rating. There's a terminal cover fitted with a gasket and 2 screws to secure it. There are 2 5-way screw terminal plugs. There's a spare screw to secure the reader to its mounting plate. There's 2 sets of product identification and serial number labels. These can be applied to site maps or other site documentation to help with commissioning and maintaining the access control installation. You'll need screened Mylar, Wiegand or OSDP cable of sufficient length to be neatly routed from the reader back to its controller. OSDP is the preferred choice if the controller is capable, as it requires fewer conductors. For OSDP you'll need a UL approved screened Mylar cable with 4 conductors, 2 twisted pairs. Like Belden 3107A or equivalent, the maximum cable length is 152 meters. If the controller can only work with Wiegand, you'll need 8 conductors, and 20 AWG is sufficient for short runs under 91 meters. You can have Wiegand cables up to 152 meters if you use the thicker 18 AWG conductors. It is recommended you use wires with the colors shown, but if this is impractical, at least be consistent with the adopted color convention across the site. Now this is important. If the reader is going to be mounted where it could get splashed or exposed to rain, you'll need the correct sealant to achieve the specified IP rating of the readers. Be careful here. Note that most silicone sealant formulations release acetic acid as they cure. This will likely cause the cable ends and screw terminals to corrode. You must obtain a neutral cure sealant that does not give off acidic emissions. Look for a sealant that has terms like neutral curing or neutral cure or non-corrosive in the name of the product. Readers that are mounted close to each other will interfere with each other, which can reduce the tag reading range. For best results, you should aim to have readers separated by at least 500 millimeters. Bear this in mind when mounting readers on opposite sides of the same wall. Mounting height should be in the range 900 millimeters to 1400 millimeters above the floor, with 900 millimeters being comfortable for wheelchair users. We begin by first undoing the screw at the base of the reader and removing the mounting plate from the reader. This works the same for all Primo readers. If you lose the screw, there's a spare one in the Ziploc bag in the box. Secure the mounting plate to the junction box or mounting surface. Note that there's a full-size drilling template on page 2 of the Quick Start guide if you need this to help marking the hole locations on the mounting surface. If you're not using a junction box, you'll need to make a hole through the mounting surface to route the reader cable out through the central opening of the mounting plate over here. With the power at the reader controller off, route the cable neatly from the controller to the reader and leave sufficient slack at both ends to allow for maintenance. The cable screen drain wire should be connected to the ground or screen terminal on the controller end of the cable. Pull the reader cable through the opening of the middle of the mounting plate to access all the slack and make wiring easier. Take the terminal cover from the Ziploc bag and slide this over the end of the cable, with the gasket side towards the end of the cable. Strip back between 4 and 5 centimeters of the outer shroud and Mylar screening and leave off the drain wire on the reader end of the cable. Strip back the colored wires to expose around 4 millimeters of the conductors. Twist the whiskers at the ends of each wire so that they're easy to get into the terminal block. We begin with OSDP wiring. Get a 5-way screw terminal plug from the Ziploc bag in the reader's packaging. Observe the orientation of the terminal plug color labeling on the reader, and with the terminal plug still unplugged, wire the cable to the plug. The cable screen should only be grounded on one end. In this example, we've grounded the controller end of the cable, so the shield this end is left unconnected. Here we have the Wiegand wiring laid out. In this case, you'll need to get both of the 5-way screw terminal plugs from the Ziploc bag in the reader's packaging. Observe the orientation of the terminal plug color labeling on the reader, and with the terminal plug still unplugged, wire the cables to the plugs. The cable screen should only be grounded one end. In this example, we've grounded the controller end of the cable, so the shield this end is left unconnected. Plug the wired terminal blocks into their rows of pins and confirm that the colors are as intended. Note that miswiring can damage the reader. Once again, if you deviate from the color convention, be consistent throughout the site and make sure the controller and reader wiring corresponds before powering up the controller and the reader. A small aside here, when the reader is removed from its mounting plate, this releases the tamper sensing push button, and a tamper signal is sent via OSDP or the Wiegand data lines. Here we also have an additional wired tamper option, this purple one. This is a normally closed connection to ground that can be routed to an alarm panel if desired. We will now get into the programming options for Primo readers. Power up the controller that the reader is connected to, and you'll now be ready to make any necessary changes to the reader's programmable settings. The switches on all Primo models work the same, although the switch access area on the harsh environment reader is a little different to the others. They both have dip switches numbered from 1 to 4 and an anti-tamper press button switch. Here are the dip switch controlled options. Note that the reader automatically selects between OSDP and Wiegand based on the wiring, so there's no setting you need to do for this. The new reader will arrive with all the switches in the default off position. Note that the switches are only read on power up, so if you make any changes, you'll need to cycle the reader power to register those changes. On power up, if the first switch is on, this will cause the beep menu settings to revert to their default. The second switch allows you to set the OSDP baud rate to 115,200 or 9600. The third switch only applies to Wiegand and allows you to choose between a regular 44-bit signal or a 26-bit OEM option. The fourth switch will cause the reader to power up in the beep count programming mode. This allows you to select options in the beep count menu, which we'll go to now. If the reader is powered up with switch 4 on, it'll begin beeping at steady intervals. You select a menu option by counting the beeps and be ready to flip switch 4 off right at the end of the beep that corresponds with your selection. We'll run through an example. Let's assume you wish to install a second OSDP reader as an exit reader and connect this to the same reader port as the entrance reader. If this is supported by your OSDP reader controller, you can use the beep count method to change the address on the second reader. This is how you do it. Set switch 4 to on. Cycle the reader power by unplugging and replacing the power terminal plug with the red and black wires. The reader will begin a beep sequence. Be ready to flip switch 4. Count the beeps. 1, 2, 3. As soon as the third beep ends, flip switch 4 to off. If you do nothing, the beeps reach their end, nothing is changed. If the reader is going to be exposed to any splashes or rain, here is where you must make use of the neutral curing silicone sealant that we spoke of earlier. A complete cure inside the reader will take a week, but the reader will be splash-proof within a day. Before using it on the reader, lay a bead of the silicone sealant on some scrap cardboard and take a sniff. If you smell a strong vinegar odor, then you've got the wrong sealant. Acetic acid fumes are corrosive. If your sealant has no vinegar odor, then continue. Slide the terminal cover along the reader cable as close to the closed position as you can get. Lay a bead of silicone on the inside of the lid against the cable so that the entire circumference of the hole is hidden by the silicone. Close the terminal cover and secure it to the back of the reader with the 2 screws provided. Give the cable a gentle tug. A movement of around 4 mm is sufficient so that the silicone is drawn into the gap around the cable. If necessary, apply more silicone around the cable where it exits the reader. There must be no open gaps at the cable entrance. You can now continue with the reader mounting process. Before securing the reader to its mounting bracket, close and secure the terminal cover using the 2 screws that are provided for this in the Ziploc bag. If you have applied the neutral cure silicone sealant, make sure there are no gaps in the cable entrance and that the terminal cover gasket is in place. Then we have a rubber switch cover. This is important. You must make sure that it goes on the right way around. The circular step feature must be positioned over the anti-tamper push button for it to operate correctly. Mounting the reader is the reverse process of separating the mounting plate from the reader. First, hook the reader into the tab at the top of the mounting plate. Then lower the reader onto the mounting plate, and that'll be over the mounting plate in the case of the bell-shaped harsh environment reader. Finally, the reader is locked into its mounting plate by fastening the screw that goes in at the lower edge of the reader. If you've lost the screw, there's a spare one in the packaging. And that's it, we're done. The reader is now ready to be discovered, enrolled, and set up in the access control software. Be sure to like and subscribe this video, and keep a lookout. There'll be more useful videos appearing on the Impro Technologies YouTube channel.